talked about falling in love with the process, right? And I think that is so important because there are, like cheer, competitive cheer, there are so many sports where you train all year for 2 minutes. I liken dance and cheer competition to running the 400, right? The longest sprint. It's one race, right? And it's like you give everything you have in there. But while you're running, while you're sprinting the longest sprint, you also have to smile and look a certain way. You have to got to smile. You have to throw some tumbling in there. You've got, if you're a dancer, you're turning, you've got all these tricks that you've got to throw in there, and you have to look elegant and graceful at the same time while you're running the longest sprint. My guest today is Laura Jones. Laura and I met several years ago through the Todd Durkin Mastermind for Fitness Professionals, and I was instantly drawn in by her warmth and her energy. Laura has an interesting background as a competitive cheerleader in both high school and college, and professionally as a strength and conditioning coach at the high school level. She's currently a personal trainer at Baseline Fitness in Columbia, South Carolina, a wife and mom of 2 boys. Welcome to Her Time, Laura.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here to talk to you.
I am so happy that we were able to schedule this. I think that you have some great insights that the audience is going to really connect with, just given your personal background. So let's start off by talking a little bit about your history as a youth athlete.
Yeah. Well, I am from a family in which my father was a high school and college athlete. My brother was a college athlete. Both of them are running backs, and grew up kind of watching my older brother, and being awed by his athleticism. But as for me, I was a little bit slower to come along with that. And so my parents would put me in various sports and just hope that I began to really enjoy them. But although they would make me finish the season of softball or the season of swimming, competitive swim, I didn't really have one sport that I loved or that I stuck with and that I really wanted to get better at until I became a competitive cheerleader. And that started in high school for me. I moved high school so that I could be a part of a public school that had a nationally ranked cheerleading squad, and started to really focus on my gymnastics skills at that time, because I knew that in order to make the varsity team, I had to have a standing back tuck. And this is back in 1990, 93. And so I got really focused on that and developed a passion and a love for that. Junior year of high school, we were national champions. My senior year of high school, we were national champions. And I was blessed to be a co-captain on that senior squad, which was an amazing experience, certainly with leadership. Mm-hmm. And then I continued into college, and I was on a dance team for a year at UT Chattanooga. And then I transferred to a school called Charleston Southern in Charleston, South Carolina. And at the time, there were no female cadets at the Citadel, mm-hmm. the Military College of the South. They had a co-ed squad for years and years, but they had recruited their cheerleaders from other colleges. And then obviously the males were from the Citadel. So I actually became a cheerleader at the Citadel in college. And then shortly after graduating from college, entered into, although I didn't get my degree in kinesiology or anything like that, became a group fitness instructor. So 2001. And then later on became a personal trainer and strength and conditioning coach.
That's super interesting. So I also did not get my degree in college in kinesiology or exercise phys. I have a master's degree that I never use at all, other than the ability to research really well, which came in handy when I decided I wanted to do this as a career.
Yes, absolutely.
Instead of what I actually studied many, many years in college.
Right.
So I get that, and actually, you know what, I'll say that's not uncommon in our industry.
That's right.
You talk to a lot, especially with other women, like you talk to them, it's like, this isn't what we studied, but we found it anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So I think that's pretty interesting. So talk a little bit about when you started training youth athletes. So you were a youth athlete and then
Yes.
group fitness and eventually that, the personal training and then the path led to training youth athletes. I think
Hmm.
that's a pretty interesting story you have right there.
Yeah. Well, you know, being a competitive cheerleader and being the type of athlete that competed nationally and trained all year for a very short season that would lead to um, 2 minutes and 30 seconds of having to execute something perfectly. That was a great and very formative experience for me because at that time I learned to love the process of preparing.
Yes.
So not just
Mhm.
wearing the uniform and
Yeah.
the sense of community that I had as an athlete. There were so many incredible benefits.
Mhm.
But I think the thing that carried over for me is enjoying the process of physical process of preparing for sport and loving that so much that I really wanted to carry that over in other ways in my life. And so when I decided to become a full-time personal trainer back in 2008, um, another personal experience I had before that while in college is just struggling with an eating disorder. And really, my desire as a personal trainer was to help people get better, get stronger, yes, help them meet their physical goals, but that it would not be their focus would not be on aesthetics.
Mhm.
That the aesthetic
Yeah.
part would just be a residual effect of learning to work hard and have goals in which you wanted to perform better and get healthier. And
Yeah.
so after I got my certification in personal training, I really wanted to, customize the experience with my clients so that I made them feel like they were athletes. And
Mhm.
this wasn't something that was very common back in 2007, 2008,
Right.
2009.
Yeah.
And so, but I knew I wanted to have that specialization mentally and in terms of my strategy. Like for my clients, I wanted to help them set really healthy goals so that they could put their fitness in the appropriate place, and that they would be motivated by the right reasons. Um, and that in that process, they could still meet their aesthetic goals. So,
Right.
so with that being my focus, I began to be drawn to people like Todd Durkin,
Mhm.
who was already working both with regular everyday mom and dads and grandparents, but also LaDainian Tomlinson and Drew Brees, right? And he was training people and running boot camps where he treated people like they were athletes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and I met Todd back in probably 2009, and thought that is what I want to do. That is how I want. That's what I want to cultivate and be able to provide that type of training for my people. Um, in addition to that, I was connected with a franchise called D1 Sports Performance Training,
Yeah.
and they were just up and coming, and they are back. The original location was in Nashville and then Chattanooga, and that's where I'm from, Tennessee. And
Mhm.
so I knew they were opening up, and I knew that they were training athletes. What they were, their kind of opening slogan was like, we train athletes from age 7 to 99,
Yeah.
and so I went out there and I wanted to have the whole experience, and absolutely loved everything they were doing. So every time I visited back home in Tennessee, I was out at D1, and I was just hungry to figure out how I could be an expert in that exact thing.
Yeah.
And in the process, realized that I wanted to get some certifications
Mhm.
to be able to do that, to be able to
Right.
specialize.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, because of exposure to people like Todd Durkin, and then they were training Peyton Manning out at D1, and some of the guys that I was learning from, they were Peyton Manning's personal trainers. I
Sure.
was able to kind of bring that back to this a small town outside of Columbia called Sumter, to some local athletes, and have the credibility of knowing, like, I know that this is exactly what current professional athletes are doing right now to get better at these things. And so
Right.
now I want to bring this to you. That is kind of my path from going, I know I want to teach group fitness. I really think I want to make personal training a full-time thing, and I want to be this type of personal trainer. And in order to be this type of personal trainer, I think it would be beneficial to get certifications in order to know that I'm really providing solid athletic training, or strength training and agility training and speed and all those things for the adult, but also start working with athletes.
Mhm.
And then some doors open for me to be able to do that.
Mhm. You said some things that I think are worth highlighting here. So one of those is that you talked about falling in love with the process,
Mhm.
right? And I think that is so important because there are, like cheer, competitive cheer, there are so many sports where you train all year for 2 minutes, and I think the one that gets a lot of the overall attention is going to be like, I liken like dance and cheer competition to the 400, running the 400,
Mhm.
right? The longest sprint. It's one race, right? And it's like you give everything you have in there, but while you're
Yeah.
running, while you're sprinting the longest sprint, you also have to you have to smile, and look a certain way. You have to got to smile. You have to throw some tumbling in there. You've got, if you're a dancer, you're turning, you've got all these tricks that you've got to throw in there, and you have to look elegant and graceful at the same time while you're running the longest sprint.
All that together. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that is just really insightful how you put that, like the process, fall in love with the process
Mhm.
to get to that point for this 2 minutes, that it's like it's your make or break it, right? You might
Right.
have, like, depending on how many competitions you're at, you might have 3 chances at it an entire year.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah,
I
so that's one of the most valuable lessons that transfers into really every area of life, whether it's a job interview or a presentation, or any number of scenarios in which there is a physical and mental preparation leading you up to a moment in which you want to walk away from that moment going, I did the best I could with the gifts that I was given and the
yeah.
time that I had to prepare.
Mhm.
And whether you win or you lose, you get the job or you don't,
Right.
you can walk away knowing that you did your best.
You
And
did
there
your
is
best.
nothing like that. There
Mhm.
is nothing like that. That is
It's
that is a feeling that I want every single athlete to feel, for my children to feel and know. It's priceless. Yeah.
absolutely, it truly is. The other thing that you mentioned is to not focus on the aesthetics.
Mhm.
And I that is something that I think that's a great message, because we can't deny the fact that a lot of female focused sports are aesthetic in nature,
Mhm.
right? Like there is
Right.
an aesthetic nature to them.
Right.
And that opens up a lot of doors for some complicated conversations and feelings. And
Absolutely.
when you talk about nutrition with them and you talk about training, and it can be really easy to just gloss over it, right? But we're not doing these girls any favors if we do that, you know? Um, so I think that is something that we have to acknowledge. There is an aesthetic aspect to their sport, but it cannot be the main focus. Like that cannot be tied to their performance. You know what I
That's
mean?
right. That's right.
Yeah. And I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I didn't mention this, and obviously it's important to mention. But so when I started working with athletes, I started contracting with ADs to come in and work speed, agility, quickness with specifically football players.
Mhm.
And honestly, that is what if I could pick one sport, one type of athlete that I wanted to work with, it was a football player, because in my experience, generally when you get to that high school level, the this seriousness, the focus and the motivation and the positive peer pressure to perform and the weightiness of it, usually these boys show up ready to work.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a ton of me having to come in as a coach and convince you that you should be faster,
Sure.
or you should have a faster reaction time, or
Mm-hmm.
you should be stronger. Like, they know
Yeah.
this and
Yeah.
they want this. This is
Mm-hmm.
something they bought into
Yeah.
for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved the idea of coming in and just having a team that's serious and focused, and me saying, this is what we're going to do to get better, and
Yeah.
this is how we're going to do it, and then we execute it, and then we see results and we get better.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
not complicated. So coaches would hire me to come in particular points in the season, like preseason, and work with their athletes for those specific things. And then, having done that for a couple of years, a door of opportunity opened for me to become the strength and conditioning coach at a private school. And that was primarily to the football team. But and then it became in addition to the football team, and I was able to work with female athletes. And I was a strength and conditioning coach at offering strength classes during the day at the high school, and working with middle school students as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for 4 years and
Yeah.
helped to lead 2013 that football team to a state championship. And then our family moved to Columbia, South Carolina, to coach competitive cheerleading, which I had not done. So now, so my most recent experience with coaching a team has been with females.
Yeah.
And I knew it would be more complicated, and it was, and it certainly was. Very valuable, very rewarding, but
Yeah.
certainly in terms of just what you mentioned, the
Yeah.
aesthetics
Mm-hmm.
and the head game,
Yeah.
and just getting them to show up and want to have tenacity and be all in. That culture had not necessarily been set, and it depends on what school, of course, and the legacy of that
Mm-hmm.
sport.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But there were a lot of factors that made the coaching the girls different than
Yeah.
coaching high school boys. However, yes, to your point, it is much more complicated when you have to talk about the aesthetics.
Yeah. We do. And we do have to talk about it,
We
it's
do.
easier not to, but we do have to, because like I said, we're not doing them any favors if we ignore it.
Exactly, because it's there, and it
Yeah.
is one of the primary things that they're thinking about.
Yes.
Now, I will say, when I was still kind of contracting with public high schools, the coach did ask me at one particular more rural school, to come and talk to the boys about their nutrition. He said they're eating terribly. They're eating Doritos and Oreos before practice, and they feel terrible, and they're performing.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about nutrition.
Right.
And so he was saying they don't know anything. So I took him literally, and
Yeah.
it was true, because
Wow.
I talked about, macronutrients, and about proteins and complex carbohydrates and healthy fats. But I mostly just wanted them to understand, like, what their plate should look like and how there should
Yeah.
be color on it, from
Mm-hmm.
something that either, like, grew from the earth or had a mother. But they were still just like, I would talk about, I mean, they legitimately somebody rose their hand and said, they raised their hand and said, what about ketchup? Okay. And then we were talking about healthy nuts, and they were like,
Yeah.
but can I eat an almond joy?
Oh.
And but it was just, it was amazing for
Yeah.
me to,
Yeah.
be reminded with the general population, especially in a more
Yes.
rural community,
Mm-hmm.
where there were a lot of these kids did not come from money,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and maybe living off of food stamps, the amount of processed food that they put in their body, and their lack of understanding
Right.
between what they were eating and how they were feeling.
Right.
There
Yeah.
was just so much so much to educate them on, but
Yeah.
at least we got that conversation started.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's critical because
I know
as we
you know
both
this.
know, as we both know, I mean, there's no denying the connection between what the fuel you put in your body and the performance that you're able to produce, right?
Right.
Like we can't deny that those two are connected. And I mean, sometimes it's the connect they don't want to hear it because they don't want to know that it's better for them to eat vegetables than,
Mhm.
their bag of chips. But I mean, again, that's another thing. It's like we have to tell them, we have to talk to them about this.
Right.
So, and I will say, a lot of times the girls are very interested
Hmm.
in knowing this, and they haven't really pushed back much on it. Mainly, if there's pushback, it's over like food pickiness. Like, what I don't like that. I don't
Right.
like,
Preferences.
yeah, exactly. Not over the desire
Hmm.
to know how to fuel her body the right way.
Yes,
Right.
I
And
agree.
we can work around food preferences. That's easy.
Right.
Just keep talking, right? Keep talking about it.
Figure
We'll
it out.
figure it out. Yeah, absolutely. We can
Hmm.
figure something
Hmm.
out for you. Um,
Hmm.
Absolutely. So when thinking about coaching the boys and then making that transition to coaching the girls, what are other than, obviously like the big, it's, we have to talk about aesthetics. What are some other things that you noticed in the differences between those boy football players and those girl competitive cheerleaders?
Well, when it was time to start practice after school with my female athletes, instead of stepping on the mat and putting what's going on in their social and emotional lives aside so that they can focus on the task at hand, most of them brought their social emotional lives with them,
Mm-hmm.
and their performance was impacted by where they
Mm-hmm.
were emotionally, what was going on with them socially.
Yeah.
Whereas the male athletes, from what
Mhm.
I could pick up on, it didn't matter. It didn't really
Yeah.
matter.
Right.
It was just, I'm here to perform this task.
Yeah.
Um, I think there may be a couple situations where something major was going on in a male athlete's life, and it needed to be addressed.
Mhm.
But I'm talking every day. These girls show up, and depending on how their day was at school,
Hmm.
that would affect what they brought to the mat,
And
and
you could
how they
step on
and
it.
how well they worked with each other.
Yeah.
The type of attitude, because cheerleading, as I'm sure you know, with stunting,
Yeah.
you've got the flyer, her life is on the line,
Yeah.
and she has to trust her bases, and the bases have to work together so closely, and they have to, they're in such close physical proximity. In addition to that, their bodies have to sync up in such a way that they have to feel through every single thing, and if things aren't hitting and going up and staying up, then they have to talk through how to fix the problem.
Mhm.
And we're all trying to solve the problem of why this stunt is not hitting. And you have to have an honest conversation about, um, I might be at fault, as an
Right.
athlete. It might be me, and
Yeah.
I need to do this and I need to improve. But also, I know my stunt partner
Mhm.
really needs to do this. And I
Yeah.
feel that she's doing this wrong.
Hmm.
So how am I going to, in humility, but with some authority,
Right.
tell her, like, I need you to do this because when the weight shifts, you're not standing up all the way.
Yeah.
And so it's like this group of 4, 5, 6 girls are having to talk through in a way that is respectful, humble, but with some being assertive,
Hmm.
um, to talk through it so that they can solve a problem, because if they can't solve the problem, nothing is going to get better and the frustration just builds. So
Hmm.
what you see on a bad day is rolling of the eyes,
Yeah.
sighing, talking under your breath about how somebody's slacking, right?
Hmm.
And instead of directly addressing in an appropriate way what you might see as the problem, and also owning in humility how you might need to step up and do something better or different. And
Yeah.
that that is it's a very intimate situation in
Yes.
which their character is tested on a regular basis. And
Mhm.
this is specific to cheer, but I'm sure it's
It
translatable to
translates.
many other sports, of
Hmm.
course.
Yeah.
Volleyball, but it's
Hmm.
just how you're syncing up. You've got
Yeah.
to sync up, and you've got to learn to genuinely love each other,
Yeah.
and know that when if you're not willing to step up and be honest with the other person, or if you're not willing to bring your best that day, that's going to reflect on everybody.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so just a lot of character building in these type of situations, and
Yeah.
a lot of talking about, if you are going to say something, the main question you need to ask yourself before you say it is this going to be helpful? If I say this in this way, am I going to help this team or not? Am I going to help this person or not? Am I going to help myself?
Yeah.
If it's not helpful, you probably shouldn't say it. And if it's an issue that you can't address, then come to me and we'll talk about
Mhm.
it, and maybe I will address it.
Those are some amazing life lessons
Mm-hmm.
for these young girls.
Absolutely.
Because, my first thought was that girls are gonna their social issues and connections and relationships, they're typically more complicated than boys.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And they're gonna carry that with them.
Mm-hmm.
But then having this as a way to build their toolbox for handling those situations, whether they're on the mat, on the court, or if it's not in a sport related situation, if it's, you know, something, work related, school related, interpersonal friendship related. I
Right.
mean, those skills are so incredibly important. And to be able to build those skills and then to be able to see how you can apply that to the other aspects of your life. And you can continue to do that as an adult, right? Those are the experiences that help build strong, competent, effective adults.
Yes. And I
Right.
will say this about my high school coach is she was not an athlete. She was a very hard-nosed person, but she was exactly what we needed. She was a person of excellence. That's what she was.
Hmm.
And she expected the best from us, and she would not tolerate drama.
Yeah.
Would not tolerate it. So
Hmm.
when I look back on my high school experience, I cannot remember any drama between any of the members of the team of our
Yeah.
squad,
Hmm.
which is amazing. And I had my 30-year reunion this past summer, and we were talking about it, how like
Yeah.
none of us fought over boys, over, we
Yeah.
just figured it out. But I think it's because of the standard that our coach set.
Yeah.
And I really fought for the 2 years that I coached competitive cheerleading,
Hmm.
for that to be the standard,
Yeah.
that I am not going to tolerate drama. We're
Yeah.
going to either deal with the issue, or you are going to have to work it out in your head, but we're not going to talk about each other.
Yeah.
We're going to advocate. We're going to be for each other. And I do think that was effective in mitigating a lot of extra time and energy that would have been wasted
Sure.
on the social
Absolutely.
component,
Yes.
right?
On not making progress, right?
Mhm.
On
Yeah.
things that were taken away instead of building up.
Right.
Right.
And so my constant thing was like, I love you and I care about what's going on in your life. So after practice, if you want to talk about it,
Mhm.
or at any point, I am yours. But right now, let's set that aside and let's take care of business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was
Mhm.
that's a hard message, particularly with the girls that I was working with, to know, like, I care about you, and your value to me isn't your performance. I will value you whether you perform well or not.
Right.
However, I'm calling you, for the sake of both of us and your team, to step up, put those feelings aside for a minute, and let's
Yeah.
focus on what you're here to do.
Let's do this. Hmm. Absolutely. So that's kind of an interesting segue. There's research out there. The Women in Sports Foundation is Billie Jean King founded it, and they have really put a lot of effort into promoting girls' sports and girls staying in sports. And so what they found over and over again is that it's around the age of 14, 15, that girls will quit playing their sport they've played their entire life at a rate that is twice of boys of the same age around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And they've come up with a variety of, like, they've found several reasons, causes for this that contribute to this. One of which is that there aren't as many female role models in the professional sports world, or even in their own, like, as their own coaches and strength coaches and trainers. They don't see as many women in those roles as they see men. So you mentioned you're a coach, you're a cheer coach, right? That something that she implemented when you were on the team that you carried with you into adulthood and then carried that on. But I think that's an interesting conversation to have, considering that you are a woman in this field and that you coach the girls, but you were drawn to the boys initially to coach
Yes.
these boys too.
Yes.
And I think that actually probably has a really good impact, leaves a good impact on those boys as well, to have
Agree.
such a strong female strength coach, right, as a role model for them.
Absolutely. It was when I got hired on to take over the strength classes at this particular high school. When I became more of a full-time strength and conditioning coach, it was because the head football coach had just finished out the season and had a really good season with that team, and immediately accepted an offer to move and to take over at another school. And he gave them maybe a week's notice, if not less. And they needed somebody to come in and
Yeah.
teach these classes. Never
Yeah.
mind work with the athletes outside of that. They just needed
Right.
somebody to cover these classes. And so one of my current clients at the time was on the board and said, look, this woman's, obviously she's a female, but she can step in, and I 100% trust that she can lead this all male class. And this
Yeah.
is what she's done in the past, because I'd already worked with other public schools that were bigger, that had a little bit, had bigger football teams, and could have a lot of other potential issues with having a female in a position like that, but
Yeah.
had done well. So thank goodness, he was in my corner, up to bat for me. And so I got that job. But it was really funny. And it really, for maybe 3 months, to watch these boys try to process, like, who is this little woman and what is
Yeah.
she about and what is she making us do? And I mean, I would take
Yeah.
them out there, and I bought a bunch of I didn't buy them. They give them away. So I took my father-in-law's truck and got a bunch of those tractor tires, had them
Yes.
loaded up, and I drove it over to the school and got them all out.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember watching them like, what is happening? They'd never flipped a tire. They didn't know anything about this. And so it was a lot of fun to watch them process it. But, they're good kids and came from good homes. So they knew how
Yeah.
to just kind of keep their mouth shut and just do what I said.
Yeah.
However, after about 3 months, I had built that rapport with them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so then that turned into almost 4 years of working with these
Yeah.
kids, until a lot of these kids, were seniors. And that's the year that they won the state championship and
Yeah.
graduated and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember at that last football banquet, surprisingly, a couple of seniors came up and talked about the week of champions. And that's the week during the summer where they would be put in teams on the football team. And they would be, it was my job to come up with all of these really difficult challenges for them. They would compete with each other, and it was bonding through adversity and just setting the culture and the standard in the summer to get them ready. But at that banquet, several of them talked about how impactful that week and then all that hard training in the summer was, and how they were just so puzzled about why I was in the position that I was in to do
Yeah.
that. But it brings me such joy to know that that was something that impacted them and their character and their work ethic.
Yeah.
And now these guys are approaching 30 years old and have
Mm-hmm.
you're married and have children, and
Sure.
as well as following athletes that I've worked with. But that's such a great source of joy for me to have been in a position to hopefully made a lasting impact in their lives, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. The last main topic, I guess, I want to talk about is that we were kind of switching gears a little bit. You alluded to it a little bit earlier, actually. We were both co-authors of a book a few years ago with Todd Durkin,
That's right.
and several other fitness professionals. And it was called What's Next? And I went back and looked at your chapter, which actually is right after my chapter.
Oh yeah.
So I
And
didn't,
I read your
I was
chapter
looking,
as
I was
well.
like, wait, it's literally the next page. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Your chapter was about the sportification of fitness, or
Yes.
sportifying fitness for adults. So talk a little bit about your chapter and what's
Sure.
next,
Yeah.
and about that philosophy that you have. You alluded to it earlier. I love it. I identify with it. Uh, but just talk a little bit about that chapter in that book.
Yeah. I mean, the premise of the book really at that point, you said it was 2 years ago, right?
I think
Was
so. Yeah.
something like that. What's the
Mhm.
future of fitness?
Right.
And
And
how is it going
then
to
after COVID.
shift
Yeah.
after
Mhm.
COVID, right?
Yeah.
And so um basically I have always believed this, so for a very long time, that, as I said before, I wanted to train my clients as if they were athletes. And if they could shift into the mentality of thinking about their workouts as training sessions and them focusing on how to get better at the performance side, getting stronger, getting faster, getting more mobile, cleaning up their nutrition, um, then they would benefit long term, and that would actually be more effective in helping them reach their goals than focusing on aesthetics.
Yeah.
So I've thought that for a long time, but and I also had exposure, as I said before, to like D1 sports performance training, where they had a group of women. They had an adult female class, an adult male class for either has-beens in terms of like a lot of us were athletes in high school and in
Right.
college, and we hadn't been trained like that in a group since that time.
Yeah.
And so I just loved at D1 the experience that created for me, where I felt like I was on a team again. So I had a
Mhm.
little taste of that back in 2009, 2010.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then started doing some group fitness and training some males and females and co-ed groups together like that, and kind of saw how they connected. Then also being part of the gym world for 20 years, seeing what gym culture is like and
Yeah.
seeing kind of the shift, but also understanding that people, and especially after COVID, crave connection and
Yeah.
community. And so combining that idea of training like an athlete in a setting that makes you feel like you're part of a team, and helping to create a culture for people where they were connecting, they felt a sense of community, they were known. If they didn't show up to practice or training, they were missed, and
Yep.
we would call you out.
Call
We'd
you
be like,
out.
where were you?
Yeah.
We
Hmm.
want to see you again because you're part of this team. You're part of something bigger than yourself. This isn't
Right.
just you. We need you to
Hmm.
show up, right?
Yeah.
So basically, what I was arguing in my chapter is that the future of fitness is to build out these communities of people that are training like athletes and competing in different venues, potentially outside of their gym, representing their gym as a team.
Yeah.
So, of course, now we see High Rocks explode.
Right. Yes. Yep. It's huge. It's
And
hard to sign up for it.
right.
Yeah.
So I gave examples like High Rocks and like DECA.
Hmm.
And DECA is under the Spartan umbrella, and my gym is a DECA affiliated gym. And then of course you got from the UK, I think High Rocks,
Yep.
which has really done an incredible marketing job. I mean,
Amazing.
they are knocking it out of the
Yes.
park right now, and I would love to
Amazing.
see DECA be able to come to prominence like that,
I agree. And I
because
think it's a matter of time.
Yes. So I'm hoping that's going to happen for DECA as well,
Yeah, yeah.
because I think that's so much more approachable for a lot of adults and where they're at on their
Mhm.
fitness journey. So I
Yeah.
would love to see that.
Mhm.
So you've got those types of events that people are competing in and
You're
building a
literally on
culture
a
around,
team. Like
and they're on a team.
you don't have to do it all, right? You have a team and you
Right.
divide the events and you compete those as a team. It's amazing.
Yes.
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 Hmm.
And then you've got things like I mentioned in my chapter, Kelly from Kelly's Boot Camp in
Hmm.
Virginia,
Yeah.
outside of DC, where she, as a business owner, creates competitive events
Hmm.
for her people specifically. So maybe they're not traveling outside to compete as a team
Sure.
outside, but
Mhm.
that she has led so well over so many years, where she is organizing teams within her gym
Yeah.
and creating fun
Mhm.
competitions where people are connecting and bonding and getting better and holding each other accountable. And I mean, it is so beautiful to see what she's doing up there, and so many other gyms are doing it. But I believe that that is
100%.
much
Yeah.
of the future of fitness,
Hmm.
because people will always have we are born with a need for connection and
Yeah.
community.
Hmm.
It fills a void for that. And that very connection and community was how many of us as children, um, made friends, right?
Right.
Why is it any
Hmm.
different for adults?
Right.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
and our characters were developed just like our characters. I hope my character is continuing to develop and I'm
Oh,
continuing to get
yeah.
better, right?
We don't stop growing, right? We
Right? I
continue to
want to
grow throughout our
always
lifespan.
grow. Why
Absolutely.
should adults not have the ability to do
Right.
that in that
Hmm.
context? And as for me,
Yeah.
I'm 48 years old. I have never squatted more. Just
Hmm.
and I've never deadlifted more than I am right now.
Yeah.
And I am just now being able for the first time to do multiple chin-ups on my own. I've
Yeah.
never done that in my life. And here I am almost 50 years old,
Yeah.
because I've been blessed with health and I have been consistent, and I
Hmm.
think about myself as being an athlete, just wanting to get better.
Yeah.
Here I am achieving these physical things that I could not do as a 38-year-old. I was
Yeah.
nowhere near that.
Hmm.
And so, anyway, all that to say, with my chapter, I really genuinely believe that that is the current status of fitness and the future of fitness. Much of it is um, people continuing that mentality of being an athlete after high school, after college, into adulthood, and throughout their lives, hopefully until they can't walk anymore,
Right.
and even
Yeah.
beyond that,
Hmm.
but for the rest of their lives, because there's really no reason for it to stop.
I
Why does
agree.
it have to stop?
Hmm. No. And I think you just made the case that, the thing I'm so passionate about is keeping girls in sports.
Yeah,
Like you just made the case for that too. Like,
right.
you play on this team in high school. You can do rec in college. You don't have to go to college and be a D1 college athlete, right? You can continue to train. You can do rec. You can do intramurals in college. And then you find your gym and you continue doing this throughout your life. And you will continue to enrich your life. You will grow as a person. Your health will be better than you could imagine, right? It's just going to make your life better. So keep doing it now. Like, don't quit when you're a teenager, right?
Right.
Keep doing it. It's worth it. This is an investment in your health.
Yes. Yes. And
So,
I've got two cheerleaders that graduated, I guess, 3 years ago, but they're both F45 instructors now in
mhm,
college.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
absolutely what I want to see you guys do, is just
Hmm.
continue to stay active.
Yep.
And we're of a different generation where you know, I would say, I guess, women who are 60, maybe 65 and older,
Hmm.
they did not, like, before Title IX, like they weren't athletes. So
Right.
coming into
Mhm.
a class in which there are athletic movements,
Yeah.
or in a gym where they're
Hmm.
being taught to do things, they've not had exposure. They're used to maybe
Yeah.
jazzercise or just,
Hmm.
but
Right.
now you've got this multiple generations of women
Hmm.
who were athletes and who want to
Yes.
continue to be, and they know how to do the things, and so
Yeah.
there needs to be that transition. Just,
Yeah.
you graduate, you're out of the strength and conditioning program that you had in your high school as an athlete,
Hmm.
bam, you're in college, there are opportunities there, bam, you're in your community and in your career, and you have opportunities there to thrive physically. You just got to get plugged in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I think that if we had more Laura Joneses working with our kids, the world would be a better place.
Thank you.
This has
I
been an
appreciate
awesome
that.
conversation, Laura. I am so grateful that you came and gave us your time. I know it's a busy time of year and a busy day, but I really am. I'm so grateful. I always enjoy our conversations, and I'm glad I got this one on tape for everybody to hear.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been great talking to you. So much fun.
Absolutely.